teams in the NFL, the Bears may start Nick Foles over Trubisky. That's a real quarterback battle. Tua, Ryan Fitzpatrick's a real quarterback battle. By the way, Mariota, Derek Carr could become a real quarterback battle. Have you ever been in a camp, Stanford, where you didn't know who was going to be the starting quarterback going into a season? What does that do for a camp?
It's definitely something that can be very tenuous on a lot of the players, simply because you see the quarterback battle every day. You see that one starter switching in with one team. You see the other starter switching in with the second team offense, things like that. So it's definitely something that is a part of the NFL as a player and just something to watch. But yes, I've definitely been a part of it, and watching go from first game of the preseason, one starter, second game, another starter, third game, which is the dress rehearsal, having the guy who's going to be the presumed starter is definitely something that's interesting to watch unfold before your very eyes.
So Gerald McCoy of the Cowboys, 32-year-old veteran defensive lineman, injured, out for the year. And so you get into a situation in these NFL camps, you start to lose one or two starters. Does it change the locker room? Do players talk about it? This is not an area they're hoping Aldon Smith can help this year. DeMarcus Lawrence has been hurt more than once. How do injuries affect camps for teams like the Cowboys?
Well, whenever you have veteran players, they're not going to play too much in the preseason anyways, even though there's not going to be a preseason this year. So it's not going to be that much of a detriment. Now, when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, obviously a big blow to their defense, losing Gerald McCoy for the season. But because they've signed Aldon Smith, because they've signed Dontari Poe, because you still have DeMarcus Lawrence, a Pro Bowler, it's not going to be a detrimental blow. It's not going to be a debilitating blow to their defense. I still think that they're going to be able to be very formidable on the front four.
Is in terms of COVID to you, there's different protocols. I don't know how much football, you played with no fans. Like, does that have any impact on how you play and prepare?
I think with no fans, I remember having Marquise Pouncey on my podcast recently, and I asked him that very question. He told me, he said, Stan, if you're a player, you're going to be able to play regardless of whether it's fans, no fans, things like that, because that's what we do. We're football players. We're programmed to go out there and make plays no matter what position we are on the football field. So I don't think that it's going to have that much of an impact on the veteran players, on the true dogs in this league. Now, you'll have certain young guys that they're used to playing in the SEC, the Pac-12, things like that. So you know what? They need that roar. They need that euphoric feeling from the fans. But if you're a veteran, you're a guy who's been around in this league, you know how to do it, because whether it's a fan or no fan, you still got to go out there, cover the receiver, tackle the running back, catch the ball, sack the quarterback, things like that. So I don't think it should have that much of an impact.
So I like Cleveland this year. It all hinges on Baker Mayfield because their talent is exceptional. They've got 2 stars at tight end, running back. They got their offensive tackle situation settled. And I've said before, now this is Baker. Now he's made a lot of mistakes. I think if he struggles this year, there's going to be a lot of people in the front office that are going to say, you know what, there's just too much. He's not good enough to deal with the nonsense. What do you expect from Baker Mayfield? He did admit the other day, I'll give him maturity points. He admitted, I lost myself last year. I was out of shape. Should I take that as maturity, or should I be concerned that second year in the league, he's already lost focus and put on weight?
Well, I definitely hope that we can take it as maturity, because this is a make or break year for a Baker Mayfield coming in. He's got a new head coach, obviously got a new system, but he has a barrage. He has a multitude of weapons around him at the running back, tight end, receiver position. So if he's not able to make it this year, and when I say make it, I mean that Cleveland needs to be playing for a possible division title in December. If they don't win the division title, hey, we get it. You got the Steelers, you got the Ravens also in the AFC North. But in December, Cleveland needs to be playing meaningful games. And if not, I think that you might see the Cleveland Browns decide that, okay, you know what? We've seen exactly what he is. We know what he is. He's the number 1 overall pick, and he cannot propel this team with this myriad of weapons around him to actually being one of the tops in the AFC or the AFC North. So I think that this definitely can be a make or break year for Baker Mayfield.
You know, it's interesting. Tom Brady goes to New England, whole new playbook. He said the other day he's never even had an offensive coach in high school, college, or the pros. He's always had defensive coaches. So it's a whole new thing. How long, when you went to new teams, how long was it, Stanford, before you were comfortable with the playbook, that you were just reacting and not thinking? How long does it take for a guy in the NFL that's been around a while?
If you're somebody that's been around a while, for the most part, especially with me being on the defense side of the ball, there aren't too many different coverages that a defense coordinator can call. You'll just have different names on different teams for their terminology. So for a guy like Tom Brady, he's been around this league for so long. It's only 9 routes on the actual route tree that a receiver can run. So it's more about getting the terminology down, things like that. And as you can see, Tom Brady, he's been having these private workouts with a lot of his teammates all the way going back to April, May, things like that during this pandemic. So I don't think that it's going to be that much of a steep learning curve because he's already an astute individual. So I think that he's going to be able to fill into that position for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers seamlessly. By the way,
no preseason. I was told years ago by a general manager that you need 3 weeks of hitting to be able to hit. You got to get the metal worked up. He called it the calluses. You need 3 weeks of hitting. Well, we don't have a preseason, and with COVID, guys are separated more. Is it possible in September, would we see more injuries? Will it be more finesse football? Will the tackling be horrible? How many practices, weeks, or reps or games did you need to feel like physically you were ready to play in a real NFL game?
I would probably say give me about a good 2 weeks of training camp, actually going one-on-ones with the receiver, 7-on-7, things like that. Let me go ahead and come up and make a tackle on a tight end or running back. So I'd probably say for me, maybe 6 quarters of the preseason, but obviously we're not going to have a preseason this year. So I would go ahead and, as a coach, probably rev it up with a few more live drills in practice, what have you, just to go ahead and build up that callus, because you see for so long there weren't any off-season workouts, no OTAs, no mini camps, things like that. So guys are coming in behind the 8 ball already simply because they haven't had any off-season work as a team in a team atmosphere. So it's definitely going to be somewhat of a trying time. You look at guys like Robert Alford, or you look at Trey Waynes already tearing their pectoral muscle, as you can see, Gerald McCoy. So injuries are starting to pile up a little bit, but I think that once guys go ahead and get their feet wet, as you can see, they just started padded practices a couple days ago in the NFL. I think once that happens, everybody's going to go ahead and acclimate back down to norm, and then it's going to be business as usual.
Stanford Routt, former NFL DB for almost a decade. Good seeing you, buddy. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, guys. Love being on.
You bet. Fox NFL analyst Chris Spielman will join us last hour.